What do you think is the most important trick or tip for FPL generally? For me, I would say for Pep Guardiola's team, aside Haaland, don't even start anybody, down anybody from Pep Guardiola's team. You know, the Pep relates to me. So aside Haaland, just ignore Man City.
I'll agree with you. Just get Haaland in. You know, it's there's some people out there that are anti-Haaland when it comes to fantasy football because they don't want to be like, because you know, if everyone has Haaland, you're never going to gain those extra points. So there's
I was
people out
guilty of it last season.
Oh, you was that person, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. There you go. But how did that serve you? How did that serve you? Not very well.
It went badly. It went badly.
There you go. So we have proof.
This would not be good at all.
We have a laboratory test in here today in the form of Barry, who did try and not figure Haaland and his team, and it got him nowhere. So don't be against the grain. Don't try and be unique and elitist. Just do what everyone else does and buy Haaland.
Yeah.
They do it for a reason. Get him, captain him, and just have faith in him because the guy is a beast. He's always going to score. That's my tip. I mean, for generally, I think just keep up to date because you miss a transfer and you know there's a double games week or even a triple games week, it can really cost you, you know, which I've done a few times where I've just taken my eye off the ball and before you know it I've totally, you know, misjudged like the forthcoming fixtures and I haven't prepared for it. It cost me a lot that last season. I was top. I did what Arsenal did. I was top the whole season. Last 5 games I go second. And I finished second and I didn't win. So, and this is only because I missed some deadlines and I didn't make the changes I needed to make. So always keep up to date is my biggest tip.
I think, you know, for me, very important, building on what Ben said, not to try to differentiate too early. Right now, a template is emerging, right? And if you try to move away from that template too early, you could get hot. And when you lose ground in FPL, it's very difficult to regain ground, right? So I'm also at a place where I'm just not willing to basically bother myself too much about owning more than one Manchester City or Brighton assets because those two managers are really bad when it comes to rotating. I know Europe will not be a thing for the moment, but remember, City has to play the Community Shield. Then again, before game week 3, I think, or in between game week 3 and 4, they have to play the Super Cup. So there's going to be a lot of rotation early on for City. Maybe not Brighton, like I alluded to, but I think you need patience as well, right? There's this saying I like. FPL is a game where, you know, you as a manager, if you're not patient, others will take advantage of that and get ahead of you, right? You pick your players, you have to trust them to come good and not make knee-jerk moves after just 1 week of having a bad score. So patience, stick with the template for the first few weeks, then you can think about differentiating a bit further down the line. Otherwise, you could lose ground, which is really difficult to make up.
Like Andy said, I learned the hard way last season because I was not consistent, you know. I was changing teams over and over, getting the hits over and over, you know. And so at a point, I even got frustrated, you know. I even started skipping, changing my teams for some game weeks. So I think consistency is key. Like he said, get to know players who are coach's choice so you don't fall victim of some of your players not picked for the weekend. Get players that you are very sure are always going to be, if not 100%, maybe 70% of the entire season, you know they will be playing, bar injury. So the greatest mistake a lot of us make, which I made last season, is always changing your team. Always changing your team. Secondly, for me, I'm saying because of the things that happened to me, you know, when you go and check other people's team that probably scored high the previous week, there's always that temptation to do what they have done, you know. And when you do what they did, you just find out that it backfired. I triple captain Salah in the game against, which team did they beat 9-0 last season? Which club was that? Was it Nottingham Forest? Bournemouth. Yes, so I triple captained Salah in that game, and you will not believe it. Liverpool scored 9 goals that day, and Salah didn't score even one. You know, so and that was because prior to that game, prior to that game, Salah was always giving people points, you know. So I just joined the bandwagon and triple captain him, and that was it. So most times, trust your instinct. Don't move with the bandwagon and be consistent. Those are the few things I think you need to do to do very well.
Don't go with a crowd if you want to be successful with FPL. Don't believe in like the FPL pundit, the content creator. I'm not saying you should not watch the content creators of FPL, but don't go with them like 100%, because if you continue going with them, it's going to affect you. So if you want to do this, just make sure you follow your guts. Then try different things. Have mind of going with different things. If I could remember my first season, I have one midfielder. He is a differential. I don't transfer him out. And he gives me a lot of points. You remember?
Rodri, I think.
Yeah. So always follow your gut. Like if you're going with one player, make sure you have trust in that player. Then if I could follow what Steve said about he triple captain Salah when Liverpool won 9-0. Just the way I said before, it's not all about luck. It's about follow the right, like who these people want to play. The person you want to triple captain, that person, did he have a record on that team? You need to, it's about being skeptical, like, okay, I need to follow, like it's a cause. I'll keep saying it. And make sure you have like 5 game week player you want to put into your team, like a prospect of 5 game weeks, and have trust in them. If you don't have trust in them, you are nothing.
Considering the new season, you have to monitor the promoted teams. There might be few players that you might choose from the newly promoted teams that have been promoted to the Premier League. Also, form over fixture. For me, like a player might be on form and the fixture that he has next doesn't really, sometimes it doesn't really matter, but you just go with form over fixture. That's for me. Also, you should seek consistent players that give points, consistent scorers. Also, you should study the fixture list before picking your team and before picking players as well. Also, monitor injuries and suspension, because some people usually neglect this part of the game. They just go with their gut and they just neglect players that have injury or are suspended or are about to be suspended. So people should monitor that. You should plan your team very well. For the first few game weeks, yeah, you should go with the template, because there is already a set template. Haaland is key. So you first go with the template, and subsequently, let's say after maybe 10 game weeks, you can try your own players that you wish to put. For the first few game weeks, I think there's a template that everybody should stick with, and hopefully we'll do well this season.